Hello and welcome to another episode of the DVD Graveyard. Tonight we're going to be taking a look at Basket Case from 1982, directed by Frank Henenlotter. And now this movie is probably the low budget to end all low budget films. If I'm being honest with you, now I talk about a lot of low budget movies on my channel. That's kind of my bread and butter. I love B movies. I love very low budget films, grindhouse style films, and this film really fits in that pocket so well. Like, this is such an underground kind of, something that is not super well known. Like, I don't hear a whole lot of people talking about this movie, but the people that know about this movie and the people that do bring up this movie, they understand just how good this movie truly is. And the interesting thing about this movie is, like I said, it is such a low budget film, but it's really kind of a testament to what a low budget film can be, and how far a low budget film can come from the minuscule origins of it, I guess you could say. So like I said, this movie was directed by Frank Henenlotter. He would go on to direct the two sequels to this film, as well as the film Frankenhooker and like Brain Damage, I think, is another film that he did. And he's made some very, very good films, but this was his feature debut film. Now, he did do a short film prior to this. I cannot think of the name of it off the top of my head, but he did do that film, which I think I've never seen it, but I think it's supposed to be pretty decent as well. So, like I said, this movie was shot on such a low budget of $35,000 is what this film was shot on. They were literally scraping the bottom of the barrel. I know that some days they would shoot longer just because they had the money for lunch, or they didn't have the money to pay for lunch, so they would shoot a little bit longer, so on and so forth. They were getting props out of the trash, off the side of the road. Even the main actor in this film, he kind of worked on some of the production, of this movie, kind of building some of the things or putting some of the things together. And I think actually the only thing that was actually built for production was the hotel sign in this movie. So again, that just goes to show you how low budget and how creative this movie can be. Again, if you've seen it, you'll know what I'm talking about. And if you haven't seen this movie, I highly recommend going into this completely blind. This is one of those where it will surprise you. Again, if this is your kind of thing, like if you like that early 80s kind of grindhouse style horror film, this is going to be right up your alley. And this movie actually deals with some themes, or you can take some themes from it if you want to, if that's something that, if you want to look at it from more than just a monster film. It plays on a lot of heavy themes such as abortion, and suppressed sexuality, things like that, if you really want to look that deeply into it. So again, this movie is more than just it can be more than just an 80s monster slasher type movie, as what it looks like on the surface. So, like I said, before I get too far into this, I am going to read the plot synopsis of the back of this Blu-ray. I do have the Arrow Blu-ray of Basket Case, which I highly recommend, especially if you're a fan of special features, because this release, Arrow always does a really good job at making really good releases. One of my favorite releasing companies, but this one is absolutely loaded with special features. Some really in-depth special features, and some really funny special features. Like, some of these had me just cracking the fuck up, if I'm being honest with you. So I'm going to read this really quick, and then we're going to get into the review. 1982's Basket Case is a riotous and blood-splattered midnight movie experience, now immortalized in a lavish 4K restoration by the Museum of Modern Art. Dwayne Bradley seems like a pretty ordinary guy. His formerly conjoined twin Belial, on the other hand, is a deformed creature who lives in a wicker basket. Arriving in the Big Apple and taking up a room in a seedy hotel, the pair set about hunting down and butchering the surgeons responsible for their separation. Filmed on a shoestring budget against the backdrop of 1980s New York, where it played on the midnight movie circuit for over 2.5 years, Basket Case has clawed its way from its humble origins to become one of the most celebrated cult movies of all time. So again, like I said, like it said there on the back, that's one thing. I don't know if I mentioned this already, but the Museum of Modern Art, kind of funded the restoration for this movie, which I think is crazy. If you really kind of think about that and you really watch this movie, to see something so bizarre and so just such a strange, crazy, grindhouse type movie, to get that sort of treatment from the Museum of Modern Art. And just like even Frank Henenlotter said, he was like, yes, they've seen the movie, they know what the movie's about. For them to actually go as far as restore this movie and fund the restoration of this movie, I think that's so crazy to me. And again, it's just a testament to how far a low budget film can go. Now, of course, we've seen that plenty of times. Like Halloween was a huge, major success, on a super low budget. And even as far as recently, the film Obsession was shot on a very low budget. I know I just did an unboxing of that film just I think yesterday I did that. But that film, again, being shot on a shoestring budget of nothing, and has just blown up into this huge thing. So I mean, it really goes to show you again how far a low budget film can go if you tell a good story and you have a really good premise, to kind of base your story off of. So, but I'll get into the cast really quick too. I just want to mention a couple. So, our main character in this film is Kevin Van Hintenrich. Hintenrich, I think is how you say his name. Kevin Van Hintenrich. He plays Dwayne Bradley, who is our main character. Beverly Bonner, who plays Casey. She is sort of one of the neighbors in this kind of hotel. And then Terry Susan Smith, who plays Sharon. She's kind of the love interest in this movie. She does a great job, and I actually think this is the only film that she's ever been in, I think, if I'm not mistaken. So the movie starts out in a very kind of typical slasher esque way, where there's this guy that comes into his home at night, and he is kind of stalked. There's some unknown person outside who kind of cuts the telephone lines, cuts the lights, and the guy is killed in very bloody, gory fashion by these unseen person, off screen. And it's a very eerie scene, very, very creepy way to open your movie. Great little kind of cold open. So after that, after we get the main titles and everything like that, that is when we're introduced to Dwayne Bradley, who is kind of this normal guy, who has. I've got to say this before I forget. His hair was cracking me up in this movie. I know that it was the style of the time, but he's got a super curly, fro looking haircut. I mean, it's just, his hair just literally just sits on the top of his, it's just really funny looking, and it was cracking me up. Okay, I just had to get that off my chest. But he's a very likable guy, very nice guy, very quiet, very, very kind. Just looking at him, he's a very kind of good natured guy. And he's carrying around this wicker basket, and he walks into this really seedy, shitty looking hotel, and he pays for a night to stay there. And he kind of goes upstairs, and that's where we meet like a lot of the people kind of around the hotel. And he goes into this hotel room, and he's in there, and he's kind of keeps talking to someone, and he's kind of like dumping food into this basket, and he's talking to whatever's in this basket. And of course we don't really see what's in the basket, not for quite some time. But that's one thing I like about this movie, is it kind of keeps our interest, as we want to know what's in this basket. It really kind of plays on that. It's the tell, don't show, I guess you could say. He just keeps kind of having these conversations, and like at night he's trying to sleep, and we kind of get this POV shot of something kind of lurking around the apartment, and he's again talking to someone. And so as we kind of go on, Dwayne kind of visits this doctor, and that is where we meet Terry Susan Smith's character, Sharon, who's this receptionist at this doctor's office. And Dwayne goes in to meet this doctor, and he kind of tells her that he's got some, he was the family doctor years ago, and don't tell him who I am, I want to surprise him and everything. And so he goes in to meet this doctor, and we don't really hear the exchange of what's going on. Like, it's just a lot of kind of, well, like we see Dwayne kind of go in there, and he takes his shirt off, and he's got this wicked huge scar on his side. And again, we don't really hear any of their conversation. And of course, when Dwayne goes to leave, Sharon kind of asks him on a date, the next day, and he's kind of whispering to her, and he even tells her, like, I don't want him to hear. And she's like, don't want who to hear? The doctor? And he's like, yeah, and just kind of walks out and leaves. So again, a lot of kind of little subtle sort of, just kind of little key pieces that we're kind of fed here and there to kind of piece the story together ourselves. And it's all just kind of building up, to something later, which we will get. And of course, after everyone leaves, after Sharon leaves, Dwayne comes back with the basket, and the doctor is killed horribly and violently. But I forgot to mention this right before that. The doctor actually makes a phone call to another doctor and kind of says, that she met with Dwayne Bradley, who had this surgery from another doctor. I can't remember the other doctor's name, but that doctor was killed, and just stuff starts to kind of add up and start to kind of sound very odd and very peculiar, and you're like, well, what the hell is going on, up until the point where we actually get the reveal of what is in this basket, and it is this monster, this creature, this humanoid looking monstrosity that he's been keeping in this basket, and that's basically what's been doing all of the killings. That's what's been killing everyone, and it has this, again, we're kind of led to believe that it has this sort of psychic link with Dwayne, and it's kind of been telling him to do things. And again, we're really not given quite what's going on yet, but we will get there. But that's one thing I want to mention really quick, is just the effect of this creature is so cool. It's so creepy looking. It's so eerie and freaky, and just, and especially just done on such a low budget. I mean, it really just gives me the creeps. Like, even before I saw this movie, I'd seen plenty of screenshots from this film, and the creature effects in this movie are just fantastic. I mean, like they did such a wonderful job on a absolutely minuscule budget. Like, I don't know how they went about doing this, but they did it and then some. And so, pretty much as we go on, Dwayne ends up going on this date with Sharon. They're kind of walking around and kind of doing their thing around New York. During this time, he tries to pacify this creature with like a television and a newspaper and stuff like that while he's away, because he doesn't want the creature knowing exactly what he's doing. Because the creature's going to get jealous and it's going to try to stop him. So while he's away, this creature just absolutely throws an absolute fit in this apartment. It breaks the TV. It throws these papers everywhere. It's throwing drawers around, and all this really kind of creepy looking, like it's done in stop motion, which I think actually makes it a little bit creepier to me. Like, stop motion has always had this very unnatural kind of feel to it to me, that I really like. So and the stop motion was done really, really well in this movie. Again, fantastic for such a low budget. But all the tenants in this hotel start to kind of, they're like, what the hell is going on? And they end up going into the room to see that the room has been absolutely destroyed. And one of the guys actually finds this roll of cash that Dwayne's been carrying around, and he decides that he's going to go back into the apartment and steal this money. And when he does, this creature, violently kills him. It absolutely just destroys him, and the cops come and they're trying to figure out what's going on, but there's no evidence that anyone was there. And Dwayne comes back to the apartment, and he's kind of freaking out, and he doesn't know what's going on, and he's panicking because he knows what's in his room, and this like detective is there and is wanting to go in this room, and you can really feel the tension in this moment, because he doesn't want the detective to go in there, because again, he doesn't want to be found out. But they go in, and nothing is found. Everything is fine. So the detective leaves, and we find out that this creature has been hiding in the toilet. And so it comes out of the toilet, and this is actually a moment where we kind of realize what's going on, where Dwayne is kind of caring for this creature. And it's actually a very sweet scene. And honestly, this movie is kind of touching in a way. When we get into kind of the reveal of what's going on later, which I'll mention very, very soon. But it's very kind of touching whenever we get into into that. And like I said, what that reveal kind of is we kind of come down to this point where we find out that basically what's going on is, Dwayne tells one of the other tenants in the apartment that, because she asks him what's in this basket, and he tells her that it's his brother. It's his twin brother, and basically, what is going on is, we kind of get this flashback sequence of whenever Dwayne was much younger, and he was born with a conjoined brother, at his side. It was his conjoined twin that came out very monstrous, and basically it killed the mother during childbirth. The father wanted to do everything in his power to separate them because he only has one son. He doesn't have two sons, as he says. It's only Dwayne. This other thing is a monster. It's a creature. It doesn't deserve to live. It's a monster. It killed his wife. But basically, they decide to remove this creature, whose name is Belial. By the way, that's what we find out the creature's name is Belial, is Dwayne's twin brother. So they remove this creature from his side, and but it survives. They end up, and that's the thing too, is they remove it and they kind of wrap him up in this trash bag and they just kind of throw him in the trash, and Dwayne ends up going to take his brother out of the trash. And so whenever he gets him, they kind of run off, and they end up staying with Dwayne's aunt for quite some time, who cares for the both of them and treats them both like human beings. Doesn't treat Belial like a monster. She treats him as as just another being. So they kind of find refuge with her. As they go on, and eventually she passes away, as we find out, and then we're led to believe after that Dwayne just kind of moves on, and of course nobody knows that Belial survived. Everyone thinks that he died after the surgery. And it's just, again, it's this very kind of emotional sequence, this whole flashback scene where with him as a child, that's very kind of sad in a way, because you can tell that even though Belial is this creature, they are very attached, as siblings. And so as we go on, again, we kind of come back, into, the normal, time. We're out of the flashback, and Belial is starting to kind of get a little bit more brazen. He ends up sneaking into one of the neighbors' apartments, and they're almost kind of discovered. And Sharon ends up coming over to Dwayne's apartment, and they're about to have sex. And for the first time, that's Dwayne's first time ever kissing a girl or having sex with a girl or anything like that. And right before he can, Belial comes out and kind of scares her, and he kind of pushes her out of the apartment, but it's more or less to protect her. He doesn't want Belial to kill her. And basically, I think I forgot to mention this, but pretty much what's going on is what they've been doing here is Belial has been killing all of the doctors that were instrumental in separating them as children, and he will also kill anyone who gets in their way or anyone he deems as a threat to Dwayne and his own relationship. So anybody is ripe for the picking. He will kill anybody he deems as a problem. And that kind of is where it also goes into kind of some of the repressed sexuality, because Belial kind of can feel everything that Dwayne is feeling, like all of his arousal and everything like that towards the character of Sharon. So what this kind of comes down to is Belial ends up, Dwayne has this dream sequence where he's like making love to Sharon, and what happens is when Dwayne wakes up, it's Belial is basically raping Sharon at her house, and Dwayne goes over there and he grabs Belial and throws him back in the basket, and he's like, how could you do this to me? I cannot have anything on my own. There's everything that I have that I love, you take from me. But basically, he just gets fed up with, being this kind of accessory to all of these crimes and everything that's going on, that Belial is committing. So he basically takes him back to the apartment. Everybody kind of comes in and sees kind of what's going on, and Belial breaks out of this basket and attacks Dwayne. And they have this kind of, this tussle in this apartment, and they end up falling out of this window, and they're hanging by this hotel sign for a moment, and that is whenever, again, Belial, he loses his grip, and they both fall to the ground, and they are presumed dead at the end of this movie. And that is when we roll credits after that. After a whole crowd of people are kind of crowding around looking at the body, and a doctor comes up and examines, that is whenever we get the credits overlaid. And that is Basket Case from 1982. So, like I said, this is a fantastic movie. It's a very intelligent movie. I think it's a lot better than what you think, kind of going in, and it can be, like I said, it's a lot deeper if you want it to be. I mean, if you want to dig into that, those kind of risque topics that this movie could be playing with, you absolutely can. Or if you just want to look at it as a 1980s grindhouse, monster movie, you can do that too. I think that it's great for that it kind of gives you both kind of sides of that. You can kind of take from it what you will. But all in all, I think this movie is great. I think everyone should at least see this movie once in their life. It's an absolutely fantastic gem of a movie. I've loved it ever since the first time I've seen it. I think it's incredible. It's a great little late night watch anytime you get the chance. So like I said, this movie does have 2 sequels that were also directed by Frank Henenlotter. So there is Basket Case 2 and Basket Case 3. Now, I don't really remember anything about Basket Case 3 off the top of my head. It's been a long time since I've seen it, but Basket Case 2 is fucking crazy, and I absolutely love Basket Case 2. I actually think I might like Basket Case 2 a little bit more than the first film, because it's just absolutely incredible. Like I said, I need to rewatch the third one to really kind of nail down my opinions 100%, because I just now recently got them all on Blu-ray, but other than that, it's been a while since I've actually seen them and sat down and watched them. But Basket Case 2 I actually watched just recently, and I was like, holy shit, this movie is fucking crazy. I don't know, it's bizarre. It is absolutely fucking crazy and bizarre, and I look forward to talking about that one at some point. But I definitely wanted to get this first film out of the way and just kind of show my appreciation for it, because I think it's just such a fantastic movie. And again, I think everybody should see this if you're a fan of that grindhouse style 1980s horror. But again, I think it's just a testament to what a low budget film truly can be, and how far a low budget film can come from humble beginnings and just kind of blow up into this big thing. Like I said, this is not just a huge movie that I think just everybody knows about, because I don't hear a whole lot of people talking about it, but I think that it definitely has gotten much more recognition now than it has previously. So, anyway, I hope everyone enjoyed this review. I hope everyone enjoys this movie. If you get the chance to watch it, I believe it is streaming on Tubi for free. So, if you want to go check it out over there, you're more than welcome. And if you like this movie, definitely leave a comment below. Stay tuned for the next episode. As always, have a great night, and goodbye.